A giant explosion is heard across the Pacific. A cloud of smoke billows out of the flight deck of the USS Carl Vinson as alert alarms ring around the vessel. North Korea just did the unthinkable, an attack on an American air carrier, dramatized like a war movie. Wouldn't you agree? But amid rising tensions in North Korea, this scene has more within its grasp than you'd think. Right now, the USS Carl Vinson, the planet's most advanced warship, is stationed off the coast of South Korea. A move that has North Korea interpreting it as an overt provocation. Already, Yo Jong's sister, the leader of North Korea, has threatened and announced that war is on the table. And with the rest of the world watching, something pops into your mind. What happens if North Korea actually follows through and launches? Would America strike back with full-scale war? Is this the moment that sets nuclear Armageddon in motion? And what is the Trump administration making of it all? In this video, we break down just what would happen if North Korea makes the desperate attempt and attacks the USS Carl Vinson. Buckle up, because things could get very real, very fast. To understand why tensions are at a boiling point, we must analyze the reason for which the USS Carl Vinson is here in the first place. This isn't a regular patrol. It's a strategic move that puts North Korea's gaze on a worse-than-likely target. The USS Carl Vinson is a Nimitz-class carrier, a war aircraft carrier that provides home to more than 60 aircraft, such as cutting-edge fighter planes like the F/A-18 Super Hornet. It's designed to put the reach of U.S. military might into the farthest extremity of the planet, and that might is uncomfortably near to North Korea right now. The U.S. Navy has a regular rotation of aircraft carriers in the Pacific, but this one is special. The Carl Vinson stop in South Korea came during massive joint military exercises between South Korea and U.S. forces. Officially, they are intended to prepare for potential threats, but North Korea has long interpreted them as a rehearsal for an invasion. For Pyongyang, it is easy to say, America is demonstrating the muscle of its military. North Korea has been known to act aggressively whenever the U.S. Navy is in striking range. They've previously fired warning missiles into the sea, exploded nuclear bombs in response, and even sank a South Korean warship back in 2010. Since the Carl Vinson is in striking range today, North Korea feels cornered. And then it gets even more dangerous. Kim Jong-un's regime has shown that they hold nuclear weapons as their ultimate insurance policy for security. If they get sufficiently threatened, they might just go to extreme lengths. The mood is strained, but it is going to get even more complicated because the Trump administration is not backing down. And that brings us to the next chapter of this story. How is Trump's camp responding to North Korea's threats? North Korea has not been subtle in its reaction to the deployment of the USS Carl Vinson. Kim Jong-un's powerful sister, Yo Jong, warned that the US was turning to reckless military provocations and that North Korea would not hesitate. Pyongyang proved true to this by launching multiple short-range ballistic missiles within days of the Carl Vinson's arrival, making it quite clear that they were prepared to escalate. Besides missile firings, North Korea has also sent submarines and fast attack craft to the region, which has raised the specter of a naval confrontation. Given their history of aggression, such as the 2010 torpedo sinking of the South Korean naval vessel, Cheonan, there are real concerns that they may attempt to strike a U.S. carrier in the same way. North Korea's unpredictability also adds to the danger because their leaders tend to take wild, high-risk gambles to prove their strength. The Trump administration, which has taken a hard line on North Korea, has not backed down. Trump's maximum pressure policy encompassed economic sanctions, military deterrence, and open threats. The deployment of Vinson was billed as a strong message to North Korea, reinforcing Trump's infamous warning that any attack would be met with fire and fury. Military planners in his administration openly debated contingency plans, including the possibility of preemptive strikes if North Korea seemed on the verge of attacking. Yet, a U.S. military strike entails tremendous risks. Any confrontation can easily escalate into full-scale war, drawing in South Korea, Japan, and even China. Diplomatically, the Trump administration had tried to press Beijing to get Pyongyang to heel, but North Korea, which is accustomed to sanctions, would not relent. Instead, it doubled down on missile tests and threats, pushing the region to the edge of war. With neither side relenting, the crisis is uncertain. What if North Korea were to attack the USS Carl Vinson? How would America respond? Would it start an all-out war? The answer could redefine world politics in a way never before witnessed. If North Korea were to attack the USS Carl Vinson, the consequences would be immediate and catastrophic. The US Navy has drawn up rules of engagement, and any hostile act, whether it is a missile strike, torpedoing, or even a blockade attempt, would prompt an immediate military response. The US has always claimed that any attack on its troops would invite a proportional or devastating response, and being that an aircraft carrier is of strategic importance, the response would be swift and devastating. The first and most immediate response would be from the USS Carl Vinson itself. As a Nimitz-class carrier, it is not just a floating airbase, but also a heavily defended war machine. Equipped with a carrier strike group of destroyers, cruisers, and submarines, the Carl Vinson possesses cutting-edge missile defense systems that are capable of shooting down incoming missiles. If a missile had been fired by North Korea or naval troops had been deployed against the carrier, American warships as well as fighter planes would attempt to neutralize the threat before it could cause extensive damage. If North Korea could inflict serious damage on the carrier, things would get out of hand very fast. The US military, following orders from the president, could retaliate against North Korean military bases, including missile launch sites, naval bases, and even central government facilities. This would be the start of a broader military campaign to neutralize North Korea's ability to launch further attacks. But such an increase is fraught with huge geopolitical implications. North Korea has consistently stated that it would respond fully to any threat or attack on its sovereignty, and that might include firing missiles on South Korea and Japan, both of which have huge US military bases. The worst possible scenario would be North Korea using its nuclear weapons, either as a last resort or as a threat. Even with the advanced missile defense technology the US has, such as THAAD and Aegis, the risk of miscalculation is dangerously high. China is another factor to consider. As North Korea's closest friend, Beijing has always opposed any US military action near its borders. While China has distanced itself from Pyongyang's more aggressive actions, a direct US assault on North Korea would force China to act diplomatically or militarily, turning a regional war into a larger one. Finally, an attack on the USS Carl Vinson would trigger a domino effect that could spiral into a war involving multiple nations. That is why, while North Korea blusters loudly, most experts believe Pyongyang will not strike, but will stop at drawing a line, conscious as it is that to do so would be to invite its destruction. But where the stakes are so high as they are here, one miscalculation, one moment of unchecked rage, or one moment of untempered anger can rewrite history in the space of an eye blink. Could this really happen? In short, although the chances of North Korea attacking the USS Carl Vinson are slim, they cannot be ruled out altogether. The repercussions are too grave, and the threat would shake the world over, leading to an immediate and strong retaliation from the United States. The USS Carl Vinson, the most powerful warship in the world, is not just a symbol of American military might, but also an unmistakable warning to North Korea that any aggression will not go unpunished. North Korea's invasion would immediately accelerate military action, with the US retorting with bombing and naval forces to disable North Korea's ability to launch more attacks. Yet, we have also learned in the past that North Korea is erratic, and Kim Jong-un could take bold but dangerous actions without fully weighing the price. Although the American military is certainly powerful enough to respond with violence, the likelihood of miscalculation and unforeseen consequences is high, especially when dealing with nuclear options. The geopolitical stakes would be enormous. A war on the Korean peninsula can easily escalate into a larger war with regional players, especially China, intervening for the sake of its own interests. South Korea, Japan, and even Russia could join the war, making the war far more complex and perilous than any single country military strike. Ultimately, North Korea understands that to shoot at an American aircraft carrier could lead to its own demise, but that won't stop them from pushing the limits. They will continue to act erratically, and while the US maintains a large military presence in the region, tensions aren't going away anytime soon. The world will be holding its breath, wishing for restraint by all parties involved, but poised to act if necessary. This may seem like something far off, but given the stakes, it is something that we are all going to have to consider. Continue watching the events unfold, and consider that more of these types of videos will be coming your way, so continue with our channel for in-depth analysis and updates.